Bonjour à tous, bienvenue dans ce nouveau podcast de Elles, impactent, le podcast qui parle aux femmes qui innovent. Aujourd'hui, le podcast sera délivré dans une configuration bien particulière parce qu'il sera en français et en anglais. Pourquoi? Parce que nous avons une invitée de marque qui est une spécialiste mondiale de l'entrepreneuriat féminin et qui parle de la place des femmes dans les écosystèmes d'innovation. Donc, grâce à Stacy Bech. Stacy, nice to meet you and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Severine.
And so the point of the playlist of the podcast Elles Impact, or the impact in English, refers to the place of women in innovation ecosystems. And that's why we decided to invite you. Maybe, Stacy, before we start, can you please introduce yourself?
So my name is Stacy Bech. I'm an assistant professor of marketing and entrepreneurship at Azusa Pacific University in the Los Angeles area, and I'm pursuing my doctorate of business administration from Grenoble Ecole de Management in France. My academic research focuses on entrepreneurship with a special emphasis on women entrepreneurs and what they're doing in practice. A little bit about my career trajectory. I've been working in marketing more than 15 years. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri in the United States. I got my undergraduate degree in communication and minor in English from the University of Missouri, Columbia. Shortly after graduation, with my undergrad, I got a job working for a public relations firm, and I managed several public relations campaigns, managed corporate events for Fortune 500 companies, as well as managed a movie premiere starring Vanessa Williams. And then I pivoted. So I then moved into the design and build industry. And I led and executed a rebranding initiative and marketing strategy for a civil engineering firm in the United States. The last rebranding that the civil engineering firm was 10 years prior, so it was quite a challenge, but I was able to develop a niche, and I received a moving bonus to work as a marketing manager for the structural engineering firm that designed and built the Ritz-Carlton at LA Live in downtown Los Angeles.
I have the feeling that you start very early your career, no? You were 21, 20?
22, 23.
I was wondering, how did you manage, Stacy? So you mentioned you received some bonus, some awards, which is super great. How did you jump? How did you decide to say, no, I quit this career in communication, in marketing, and I decide to spend money, spend your time, and to invest into academia?
Well, it's interesting you say that. So my research focuses on entrepreneurship. And as I mentioned, I was managing marketing for a structural engineer in Los Angeles. So my husband and I have been here 15 years. So shortly after I moved to Los Angeles, I ended up opening my own public relations firm. So I became self-employed. And while I was managing and operating my public relations business, I went on to get my master's degree in business management from Azusa Pacific University in the Los Angeles area. So I was simultaneously managing my business as well as getting my degree. And I always knew that ultimately I wanted to work in academia, but I wanted to get some more practical work experience before teaching. I just always felt very inspired by academia. I'm a very curious person. So I love to give back. So I thought it would be a really great combination of being intellectually challenged, but also being able to help others. After I got my master's degree in business management, and I went on to manage and conduct media campaigns for Silicon Valley tech companies, billboard charting recording artists, mobile apps and authors, international choreographers. So I've done public relations and marketing for a variety of international clients. I decided that I wanted to start teaching as an adjunct. So I got a job working at the University of Laverne as an adjunct professor, and my first class that I ever taught was culture and gender in management.
Yeah, and I do remember the first time we met, Stacy, you mentioned that you had a background in dance or in arts.
So while I was managing my public relations firm, which public relations is a very creative field, and I was getting my master's in business management, I was also working as a professional dancer in Los Angeles. So one thing I love about the Los Angeles area is like the diversity of thought and all of the artists and artistic opportunities. So I used it all to complement all of my endeavors.
So if I do summarize, you decided to enter academia after, so you had your bachelor degree, then you worked for or more or less 15 years, professionally speaking, in marketing. It was quite successful. You create your own venture as a self-employed women entrepreneurs. Besides, you were professional dancer, and then you decide, because you have the idea that impacts of academia is to inspire students in a sense, and then you jump into academia.
You know, one of my first jobs as managing marketing, I was 24 and I was blessed to get the opportunity to manage an intern. And she was quite talented. And I really loved mentoring her and encouraging her to be a strong businesswoman because I had experienced a lot of challenges as a woman in corporate America. And I felt called to inspire other people, especially women, to be strong and persevere and follow their dreams and maybe even challenge the status quo in the process if that's what they're called to do.
That's interesting, what you are referring to, Stacy, because in the US, OECD metrics show that US is one country which is a super place to welcome women entrepreneurs. So if we move on to the topic of our podcast, it looks very strange for a French-speaking person that you coach or train your intern as to be a strong woman. How would you qualify being strong in the US, generally speaking?
Well, of course, it's different in every context. Some work cultures are more accepting than others. Some personalities are more accepting than others. So there's not one specific formula.
Yeah.
But I do believe there's crossover in corporate America to women entrepreneurship. And, research shows that women entrepreneurs still get a limited amount of VC funding. So there's still a long ways to go. And I would really like to explore more in intersectionality as well, because there's still a lack of funding from the minority perspective as well, in addition to women. I'd like to figure out how to close that gap.
Okay, so moving on to your academic research, you developed a very unique ways of collecting data, in fact. Can you please tell us more?
Well, it's unique. I believe we somewhat created our own methodology, correct? So we collected digital calendar schedules spanning throughout 3 months, December, January, and February. And we examined all of the labels on the electronic calendar schedules. We also had 2 in-depth interviews in which we got to understand in great detail what all of the labels meant, but we also got to have an in-depth interview with the participants regarding their experiences as women entrepreneurs. So we got a lot of very detailed data whenever using the triangulation method of the calendar schedules and the in-depth interviews.
And you been studying women in a specific context, which is the innovation context of San Diego. Could you please elaborate a bit more on what can we find in San Diego?
Well, San Diego's a beautiful place. It's a few hours south of Los Angeles. I'd say it's a very progressive area, and there's a lot of entrepreneurial activity there. There's an established ecosystem as well. So it's definitely an innovative hub, and there's a lot of entrepreneurial activity. and as I mentioned, progressive. So I think it was a really great place to investigate.
If I'm right, you can find lots of biotech companies located in San Diego and also digital companies, right?
Yes, there's a lot of tech and innovation there.
So it's like we have a kind of real innovation ecosystems, referring to what we know in research. And you, by the way, you partner with the Stella Lab.
Yes, they are an organization located in the San Diego, California area, and they focus on supporting specifically women entrepreneurs with access to resources and connections to help build their businesses.
And that's why I found very interesting, because your data set come from these places and women who are supposed to work and who have been trained in that place. And what I found very interesting is now you've been capable of crafting and getting a better view of what women entrepreneurs are doing and how they do innovate in practice. So maybe just to highlight on what they're doing in practice in San Diego within these innovation ecosystems.
Well, as far as what they're innovating, a lot of our data set offer diverse services to support diversity, social causes, and to support environmental sustainability. For instance, one of the participants owns a business that combines the benefits of professional and personal coaching and has a special emphasis of connecting people of color with coaches of color. And another participant in the study built a donation platform to help pair donors with organizations. Mm-hmm. And then another participant operates a composting company to help sustain the environment by specializing in composting commercial scale loads of food and waste from restaurants and grocery stores. Yeah, so there's a lot of innovation taking place there. And some of the top entrepreneurial practices we found noted on the electronic calendars consisted of having business development meetings, client meetings, managing finances, taking time for professional development, and also conducting team meetings.
So just to summarize, in a sense, what is really interesting talking about these women entrepreneurs, they do innovate in a sense for to serve the ecosystem, meaning I don't know what you are describing refers to activities that refers to how to help the ecosystems do something more, better, bigger, well, something better. Is that true?
Absolutely. So they're contributing to several social causes and environmental causes. So it's not just about contributing to the economy, but contributing to the greater good.
So just to summarize, I do not, based on what you are explaining, that all these entrepreneurs are creating things, are developing services to serve the ecosystem in itself, meaning that they do innovate, maybe at the social level, to facilitate the life in these ecosystems, right?
Absolutely. And the ecosystem consists of course, Stella Lab's accelerator. All of the participants are part of this accelerator that's helping grow their businesses. The ecosystem also consists of their employees. They are considered from the academic literature classified as micro entrepreneurship firms, less than 5 employees. However, with that being said, one of the participants had mentioned that she's able to accomplish tasks quicker and have more progress quicker without having such a big team than she did when she worked for a larger organization. So we could argue that innovation can be increased with a smaller team. Other parts of the ecosystem in this study we found include clients and business partners. And what was really interesting to find was that several of the women in our data set were part of Hera Hub Female Co-working Space, which works alongside Stella Lab's accelerator. So they had that networking base and work base as well to complement their time with Stella Lab's accelerator.
Yeah, so so just to summarize, we can show that all these women, some of them get self-employed but earn enough money to do things right. And most of them do innovate to serve the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem. And by this way, they also practice this innovation process with clients. So it's a kind of collaborative innovation process in a sense.
Absolutely. And to my knowledge, Hera Hub they call them gurus. So some of the entrepreneurs that are part of the co-working space will bring their expertise in to the co-working space, whether it be finance, marketing, law, and they'll share their expertise with the network as well.
Okay, so there is this type of ecosystem, meaning that everything gets collaborative. You got tips. It's a kind, like we say in French, don contre don, meaning I give you this, but you give me that. Of course, there is a bill in between, but this is not the point. And the idea is to serve the innovation ecosystem. And what I like in your research is to show that some women can become entrepreneurs and high growth entrepreneurs, high growth tech entrepreneurs, which is most of the time the most ambitious, impactful venture investors like to finance. But besides, there is also this emerging place of women who are enacting the ecosystems, innovating, and in that way, they are impacting the ecosystem as well.
Absolutely. And one thing that I think is important to note, we'd mentioned some of the entrepreneurial practices that they commit to, but these women also, we found on their electronic calendar schedules, they devote a significant amount of time spending time with friends and family, devoting time to children's school activities, hobbies, physical exercise. So they do have more of a variety of activities that I found complements their innovation. Specifically, I found that the women entrepreneurs tend to use location to also inspire their creativity. So a couple quotes, if it's okay, I'd like to share from the research that I think is important to note. So one participant said, one of the things I've learned is that self-care is important for creativity and business sustainability. The biggest joys I've gotten are when I literally clear my schedule for an extended period of time and listen to music, take naps, or go stare at the ocean or clouds. When I stare at the clouds, it's been the solitude and silence that have been my closest companions through my burnout. One more quote I'd like to share. It's amazing working remotely. I can be anywhere in the world. I can travel between San Diego, and I'm currently working 100% remote from the Virgin Islands. Working remotely has created opportunities for me to work with people all over the world. So those are a couple examples of how location has complemented their innovation and enhanced their creativity and their business pursuits.
Yeah, it's like a wonderful conclusion you are bringing here on the table, because it looks like that women entrepreneurs were telling us that if you want to impact the world, if you want to impact the ecosystem, impact yourself first, try to get and to feed your energy, and everything gonna be impactful, right?
Absolutely. I think, not to get off the topic, but you and I as instructors, I think that we can vouch for that. We have to fill our cup to continue to inspire our students. And I think the same is true with entrepreneurship.
Eh ben, on espère que tout ceci vous aura inspiré. N'hésitez pas à lire le livre et en particulier l'article de Stacy Bech qu'elle a publié dans la revue Journal of Business Research, qui porte et qui résume très bien une partie de cette recherche. Et à bientôt pour un nouveau podcast Elles impactent.